Common Ag with Jared and Ian. I mean, there's got to be a common sense approach to this. I mean, right?
Generation X has been quiet. Wait. 15 seconds. Velocity 2,700 feet per second. Altitude 9. New knowledge we know.
Common Ag.
I want my MT.
Hey, and I feel fine.
So Raven had an interesting video. Started picking up some traffic yesterday. So the way that I understand it is your dad passed away and he left you a farm?
So both of my parents passed away. But yes, when I was late childhood, early teens, I've been involved with horses my whole life. And so as an only child, one of the things that mom and dad wanted to do was to have a farm so that I could have my horses and, grow up being a farm kid or whatever. And, they benefited from it too. But the situation, life, I don't know, however that was, they were always renting. So it was hard for them with jobs and things, to actually buy a house. Boomers as they were, they didn't have that whole, $60,000 home type thing. So they rented for a long time. And it wasn't until I was probably 15 or 16 when they finally started, each house that we lived in while in the country was not theirs. So they had to sort of finally kind of come to that, okay, we need to buy now. So they started to looking for property and they bought the place in the late 90s. Some friends that they knew kind of a thing had it up for sale. So they bought it and then put a lot of work into it. There are 7 acres here and it was kind of run down to begin with. Like I've said in some of my videos, the house is 140, 150 years old. Then, like I said, there's 7 acres. So there's fencing and outbuildings and all kinds of stuff that, dad worked really hard for in order to maintain it and keep it up. Plus, typical normal everyday life, working a job, sometimes 2 jobs, to make sure, you go from paying $200 a month rent to paying $1,000 a month for a mortgage, plus taxes and insurance and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit of a sticker shock. So yes, so they bought it there's a little barn in the back that's got 5 stalls for horses. They bought it with the intention, knowing that even though I was young, I was, 15, 16, that I would grow up and have a family myself. But as an only child, they always knew that it would be mine at some point. And in 2018, so I did just that. I grew up, I got married, I had children, the whole deal. And then in 2018 was when dad passed away. He had a heart attack driving home from picking my mom up from cataract surgery. And they kind of like Dukes of Hazzarded off the side of the road, drove through a cornfield. Luckily, like the accident itself was survivable, but his heart attack that he had was not. So he was in intensive care for a little bit, and then we ended up going through hospice, and he passed about a week after. Mom at the time was borderline dementia. She was really still pretty cognizant, but I could kind of see the writing on the wall. And I knew I was going to have to eventually probably take care of her. But when dad died, or the wreck, or a combination of everything, it really pushed that dementia. Like it just, the stress, maybe the grief, I don't know, but she went downhill fast. And so I moved back into the farm with my kids. And I started taking care of her. And at that point, they, as a married couple, had already done some estate planning stuff. So the deed transferred from both of their names into her name only. So when it was just her, she was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to, like, I don't know if, going through dad's all of the paperwork and stuff, the loss and things like that, she really kind of saw what was gonna need to be done as far as planning goes. So we went to an estate planner. We did what we thought was everything. We got a transfer on death affidavit for the deed. We got all of the checking accounts, all of the, everything you might need. She paid for her funeral, the whole deal. We got everything taken care of except for the mortgage. And I just didn't realize, I didn't think about it. I guess nobody told me, hey, you might want to consider what's going to happen if you're not on the mortgage first. And that's basically what happened. So she passed away the very beginning of 2020 in January. And I assumed that the transfer on death affidavit meant, and I've talked to people, the lawyers and stuff, and they say it is that means literally what it says: transfer on death. She died. The deed is now transferred into my name.
Right.
Well, the estate planner, for whatever reason, didn't submit it to the recorder's office for some number of months, years, I don't know. But I still don't think that mattered too much anyways, because ultimately it was in my name. And from that point, I continued to pay the mortgage. So for almost 2 years after mom died, I paid the mortgage on time, no problem, never late. It came out of a joint checking that her and I had together, and it was set to auto pay, never late. And prior to that, this loan, this was a refinance from previous loan, but from 2010, it was never escrowed. So they also had been paying taxes and insurance on their own. And excuse me.
Who is the mortgage company they were going through? Or
U.S. Bank. U.S.
Okay.
Bank.
Big shocker.
Excuse me. Yeah. So I paid on time, but that whole time I knew that I was going to possibly need to have this mortgage put in my name. And I didn't really know what that process was, what that looked like, what steps to take. U.S. Bank even has this, or had this webpage on their website saying, oh, if a loved one passes, it's such a terrible time. You will get a designated concierge or some stupid thing about how they'll take good care of their customers and whatever.
Mhm.
So backing up to like maybe March or so of when, right after mom died, I started the process of contacting the bank to try and figure out what steps to take. And I went into my local branch, which is just right down the road here, and I talked to somebody, and they said, what you'll need to do is what's called an assumption. And so this sort of whole process, they have these provisions in place because people die all the time. People pass, in you as an heir, you get inheritance, you get buildings, you get homes.
Right.
So it seemed to me like that was going to be a not simple, but simple process. I had to file some paperwork to prove who I was, which was fine. So they requested a certain amount of paperwork, which was things like death certificates, driver's license. Okay.
Sure.
So, that kind of stuff that made sense. There was maybe a half a dozen things. And then I never heard back. So like 2 months later, I contacted them again because they told me they would mail me stuff. And they were like, oh, we see what you're trying to do, but that's not enough. That's not sufficient. We also need, and then they would ask for more information, like my birth certificate, like my kid's birth certificate. And then I would send that in. And then another 2 months later, I would not hear from them. And then I would call and ask again. Oh, we see that, not sufficient. And they were asking for things like dad's DD 214. They asked for the deed when it was in the people's names that owned it before mom and dad ever bought it. They asked for which is all online anyway. They asked for my,
Right.
I don't know if I said it, but my kids' birth certificates. They asked for my divorce decree. They asked for the deed of the house that my now ex-husband owned that was never on. Like, what does that have to do with any of this? So at that point, I still hadn't received any kind of assumption. And so I finally thought, well, what can the little guy do? I'll email the CEO. So I went on to the about page on their website. I found their CEO's name and email and contact information. I emailed him and carbon copied, I don't know, 6 or 7 other people from that page, shareholders. And that's basically when everything went to hell. After that, so that was like in September of 2021. And keep in mind, this is almost 2 years. Mom died January of 2020. Never been late on a house payment. All of a sudden, I used to log into the online account and check things out, usually monthly when I'm paying bills and stuff like that. I go to log in and the login has been deactivated, deleted. So I was like, what's going on? So I called, and the woman, the customer service person, absolutely clueless. She was like, oh, well, it must have been because your mom died. You could just get another one. Sign up in your own name. I'm like, it was in my name. It had my email address, my login. Like, we created it when she was alive together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sounds dirty to me.
So she told me just create a new one. And I'm like, well, what about the auto draft? Oh, that'll just link back up too. And so I created a new account, nothing linked back up. I couldn't see the auto draft. I couldn't see the mortgage. I couldn't see anything. So I called back and I'm like, look, what am I going to do? My payment's due in a few days. How do I pay this? And then someone else was like, well, you just need to mail a check. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't have checks on this account. So I'm going to have to withdraw this money. I'll go get some more money from a different account, write a check on that account, mail that into the ether, because it just disappeared from that point. It was never attempted. It was never cashed. It was never returned. It just disappeared. And then the auto pay still hit anyway. So then I got,
Of course it did.
3 times it hit with 3 insufficient fees funds. So I called and yelled and like, what are you guys doing? And they refunded those because they realized they were in the wrong. And I'm like, when are you guys going to cash the check that I mailed? And they were like, oh, well, if it's up to 10 days was something I got. And kind of from that, then at that point, I did hear back from the CEO's personal assistant, and it was sort of a nasty gram. If it could say, oh, bless your heart, it would have. But it was basically, this is in receipt of your email to, and they listed the guy's name and then all his little letters after his name, the chief officer and this person, comma, and all the things. And it's like, and shareholders. And what my email had said to them. So my email was prior to the online account being deleted. But my email basically said, professionally, you guys dropped the ball. You could wave your hand and because at the time the balance was like 137, let's say 140. I said, you could wave your hand. That's a drop in the bucket. It wouldn't affect your bottom dollar one bit. It would be a great PR. Look what you've done for this veteran and his daughter and the family and the death and all this. I said, but I'm not even asking for that. I'm just asking to be put on the mortgage, which is what I've been trying to do for almost 2 years now. And the result has been not that and having my account deleted. So her response to that. Go ahead.
So are they refusing to put you on the mortgage?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
the sole
what are they
purpose of
citing as
taking
the
your
reason?
house?
There's a bunch of different reasons. Their one reason is that loan isn't acceptable for an assumption. The next time they told me, you have to qualify for an assumption, so submit money. or not money, but like your kind of like getting a new loan, basically. And I'm like, look, I don't want a new loan. I don't want to refinance it because there's only like 10 years left on the loan. So if
Mm-hmm.
I refinance it, now because my credit's not so great after divorcing, after not having a job for
Sure.
a year while I took care of my mother dying. Like, so I'm kind of struggling in the meantime. But I'm like, there's a federal law that says you guys have to let me assume the mortgage. And they wouldn't even attempt that. They wouldn't even let me attempt that. And all of that paperwork, all of that stuff, which is what that CEO's assistant responded to tell me was what they call successor in interest. It's called SII. I had never heard that phrase before. I didn't know what it meant. I was told basically that's the first, it's like a authorization. So that's the first step you have to have. You have to be not approved, but they have to like it's like a verification step. So they get that in place and then you can assume. I've since come to understand that that's just bullshit. You don't need a successor in interest to get an assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
But
I've
that's what
come to
they
find
told you.
right. And also, I've come to find out that the successor in interest should have been enough to allow me to speak to them on behalf of the loan, to let me see the loan, to let me work on the loan, whether that's making payments, downloading tax documents, or asking for a modification or a forbearance if I'm under some kind of, like the SII should be enough because that I proved that I am who I say I am to moderate the loan, so to speak. My name wouldn't be on it. I wouldn't get the benefit of the credit adding to my credit as I'm paying it off, but I would have everything else that the loan holder, the perks that the loan holder would get. And they every single time from that point forward, from September of 21 until December of 21, they refused to speak to me on the phone. I went into local branch. They told me they don't accept payments at the local branch. They told me I needed to call or go
Really?
online. I would call. They would tell me, I would say, "Hey, can I make a payment on a mortgage?" "Oh yeah, sure. What's the loan number?" Type in the loan number. "Oh, I'm sorry. Our systems are down right now." I have recorded conversations from
Of
calling
course they
in.
are.
I've had people laugh at me. I had one lady tell me, "You should have taken care of this when your mom was alive, so you're not in the situation that you're in." One of their customer service reps. They just were the run around, or like I would get transferred and put
So
on
who?
hold, and 30 minutes later, an hour later, 2 hours later. And at some point in December of 2021, I got transferred to the Spanish department, and all I could hear was this guy just rapid fire speaking at me. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I heard my address and I'm like, yeah, that's right. And then I heard the word forbearance and I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? And then, a bunch more gibberish. The next thing I know, I get an email, because remember, this is all still in my name. I get an email saying your mortgage has been put on forbearance. Cool. All right, fine. So now I've got some breathing room. Maybe I can get a lawyer to get them to talk to me. So I spent the entire 12 months trying to find a lawyer that would take the case. And that was not what they did, because like I call an estate planner, and the estate planner would say, "We don't deal with mortgages. You need a real estate lawyer." I would call a real estate lawyer, or real estate lawyers. Like I would get on Google and look for people and ask for people's names. And I would call and talk to them and I'd be like, "Here's the deal." And they would say, "Okay, well, we're a real estate lawyer. You need a consumer lawyer." And I'd call the consumer lawyer, and the consumer lawyers, "No, we don't do that. You need a estate lawyer." So I was just in this constant loop. I couldn't find a lawyer to take it. 12 months later, it comes out of forbearance, and still they won't talk to me. So then 2 or 3 more months go by, and now it's past due, and it goes into default. And now everybody wants to talk to me. Every foreclosure lawyer on this side of the Mississippi is calling me and emailing me, and I'm getting letters in the mail and stuff. Hey, we see your pending foreclosure. So I found somebody local with my county because that's where it was filed. So they filed foreclosure in my name. And I didn't know that you could do that. I guess I'm finding out now that that's a thing. Like you can never have a mortgage and still have a foreclosure on
the same house that they wouldn't let you convert the mortgage.
Correct. Not only not let me convert, but not let me pay. All I ever wanted to do was pay. So I'm like, how do I get you to let me pay? And at some point they were like, oh, well, all you have to do is pay the past due, because during the forbearance, not only were those months not paid, but then there were, there was like, they started to create this sort of like buffer, what they're calling the past due, or the reinstatement fee. So there's a reinstatement fee. And as about a month in or a year into it, it was like $56,000 or $58,000. And the mortgage itself was less than $1,000 a month. So you can math that out.
Quick question. So
Yeah.
what was the interest rate on the loan for the
5.5.
mortgage? 5.5?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking maybe they're being stubborn to get you to refinance at a higher interest rate, but that's
Well, that's what I
still
thought
pretty
too,
high.
because
Another question: what kind of loan is it? If you don't mind me asking, is it FHA or what we got?
I am not positive. I think it's an FHA. I'm not positive on that. I know it's not a USDA loan. But I think, I mean, it
And
was.
they told you that you were in forbearance on an FHA?
Yes. Well, again, like I said, don't quote me on the FHA thing. That might not be what it is. I might have the loan here somewhere. I wouldn't even.
It sounds like that sounds like a brazen lie because you can't go into forbearance on an FHA loan.
Okay.
So it sounds like bullshit to me.
And like
on the side of the bank.
I don't know legal stuff. Like I pay this lawyer that I have now, I'm at over $15,000. And I feel like because I'm not a lawyer, I don't know the terminology. I don't know, like you just said, if one thing is allowed and isn't allowed. Like I can only do what I can find on Google or Chat GPT or whatever. But I felt like they should know and explain to me as the customer. And I guess I was wrong because I guess what I should have been doing is asking them about every single thing and then build for that instead of getting a piece of document in the mail that doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me, like legal court documents, and then reaching back out to them. I was sort of expecting them to kind of like, okay, we're sending you the copy of this, but this is what it means, and I didn't get that. And I thought that they were fighting on my behalf to, like you said, because some of this stuff seems like bullshit to me. But
Like
here I am. They basically let it drag out for a year, and that's what they did. They helped me kind of give me some room to try and do it, but it didn't. It eventually, I mean, that court sided on the bank side. So like I said in one of my little videos or whatever, my TikToks, that, I was informed less than a week ago on Thursday, I was informed I have until the 14th of January to either come up with the balance or refinance it or put, and my credit is shot. I don't have that capability, and I'm all alone. I have no immediate family. I have no rich uncles, so excuse me.
Okay, so it sounds to me, and guys on TikTok Live, feel free to chime in here. It sounds to me that we may have an FHA loan, possibly, which a mortgage lender or bank cannot do forbearance on. And U.S. Bank would know that, but they told you that. It sounds like
Right.
they've thrown every rock in your way
Oh yeah.
with every intention to take your house.
That's kind of what it seems like to me. And even if it isn't, well, the house appraises probably twice the value of what is currently owed on the mortgage, for one. But for two, if they force me into a refi or force me into a sale so someone else can get a finance with them, then not only do they get the remainder of the interest from the current loan that was through my parents, then they get another 30 years of interest on the same property. And to me, that's because that was the very first thing that was the lady that like laughed at me and told me I should have had this taken care of. She was like, well, why don't you just refinance it? And I'm like, because I don't want to pay another 30 years. It's got nothing to do, do really with. And then I was like, why would I refinance it with you guys when you've been screwing me over for so long, And that's when she said what she said. But so to me it seems like kind of like double dipping or like, extortion. But I don't know.
It absolutely sounds like that.
Yeah. So have you looked at
Friends on the
maybe
live,
doing a
if
refinance
you've
through a
been
different
following
company?
along or you hear this, if you could simply just start lighting up the screen. Boo, 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 boo. Let's get some clicks going here. She's got till the 14th of next month. That's how long we have to investigate the bank and save Raven's house. So let's get as much interaction as we can around this. We're on Raven's Live, so you're helping her out. We need to spread the word, get as much attention on this as we can, and we're going to start sorting this out. So to recap for the people who have just joined, Raven contacted the CEO of US Bank and received a nasty gram from the assistant. I can't throw F-bombs on live, right?
Probably not.
But this is very frustrating. We may have a situation where she was told that she could go into forbearance on a FH loan, which you cannot do. She needs, at least from my part of the world, if that's an option they've been pushing. So they're giving her all of the, which is bullshit. So, Raven, I'd like to ask you, we really appreciate you coming on Common X podcast, and thank you for having us on your live. But it seems like we have a little bit of time, not much at all. And
Right.
I think Jared, I'm sure Jared would agree, Jared from Common X podcast, we would like to dig our heels into this a little bit.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, would you be willing to share your communication from the assistant to the CEO of US Bank so we could read
Absolutely.
it, dig into this, and
I
find out
can
what's going on?
absolutely
Because
do that.
a bad day for US Bank. Who knew that this would be on Common X podcast and TikTok live going everywhere, right? So let's make it a bad day. When does the
Right.
bank ever have a bad day? The bank never has a bad day. It's the guy that owns the house that the bank wants that has a bad day.
Right.
But yeah, anything you could tell us. Obviously, our friends on TikTok are taking care of the word of mouth here. To top that off,
Right.
my condolences for losing both of your parents. That's absolutely
Thank you.
terrible. All right, is there anything else you can tell us, Raven? So we're going to spend the next month investigating the bank and
Okay.
this particular
So
situation.
the other thing is that at some point, part of the past due that they say I owe. So there was a situation where I applied for a grant for my state, which is Ohio. There was something that I found that was called the Save the Dream Ohio grant, which was supposed to help people that were in my situation. It was $25,000. I was awarded the grant with the contingency that the bank would accept it. And the bank said, nah, sorry, that's not enough money. We don't want any of it. So they declined that because, they said
What is the
due
past
was
due,
like
if you don't mind me asking?
at that time it was, they wouldn't never tell me specifically, but it was 56,000, 58,000. And I've asked for a line itemized receipt of that. They just say escrow. But the thing is, I paid the taxes and insurance. Mom and dad paid the taxes and insurance. And even at taxes and insurance, if they did escrow it, it's was only like 6 or 7,000 a year. So I don't know what $56,000 after 3 months went for. They never would tell me. I can shoot you specific numbers too, so that, you know, you've got all the correct details or whatever. But yeah, I've got all the receipts that the taxes and insurance were paid from day one by my mom and dad. What's that?
Oh, it just seems to me if okay, and you got the mortgage in your name eventually,
No,
right?
mortgage has never been in my name. They refused.
So we're going to foreclosure. They don't even have the mortgage in your name.
Correct. The deed is in my name.
Sounds like that's what they're going after.
Could be.
It's the opposite of what should be happening. You should have a mortgage in your name, but
And
they
fighting
see
for
the
the
deed.
Yeah.
They want the deed, and as long as you're past due and we don't tell you what you're past due or give you an itemized receipt or proof of debt or anything to that nature, it sounds like that's how a bank does business, isn't it, Jared?
Well, that's how they do their shady business.
Their shady business. Yeah.
I think that homeowners would be customers for a bank like US Bank. It sounds like we're placing obstacles and we're doing everything we can to not help the customer so that they can own the property and that they can sell it. Despite all the money that they've made on that house for all these years that your
Right.
parents owned it, that's not enough money for them.
They're just greedy. It's what I've been saying this whole time, because it doesn't make any sense why they've literally just refused me giving them money. Here's $25,000. No, we don't want that. It's not good enough. So here's $1,000 a month. I mean, I was not only was I paying it, but I was actually paying plus money to principal. So I was paying more than the actual mortgage. But you had asked, Jared had asked, the current appraisal value is roughly like 365.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, well over the 140 that it was when I made my last payment. I say made as in because they refused it. But
It's going to take some notes here.
Sure. And as of right now, as of the court case, like I said, they still haven't given me a specific number, a payoff, and all, like a line item of what they just say fees, escrow, arrears. Show me if it's escrow, show me who you paid and when.
Right.
Because I have those receipts.
All right, but let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly though.
Okay.
So we've got a home valued at $365,000 with approximately $146,000 left out on it. They're saying
Right.
your past due is around $56,000 when you've got more than enough equity as the deed holder.
Yeah, you're breaking up, but I don't know specifically how the amount above and beyond affects, like how much of that what is it called when you have more and they can borrow it?
Home equity.
Equity, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know how the
you can do
equity.
like HELOC loan, but
Yeah.
you
Well,
should be
and-
able to refinance with a completely different bank with a new appraised amount.
I should be able to, which is what they wanted me to do. I wanted to assume the loan. I just wanted to pay the loan because, like I said, I didn't want to go out and have to get another 30-year mortgage. And even if, you know, I'll do what I have to do, obviously, because I want to live here. I want to be here until I'm old. But I don't want to have to get another 30-year mortgage and pay on something that I feel like, you know, first of all, I've already paid, you know, $20,000-$30,000 of my own money into it. If I've been paying towards something that they're not giving me, then I want that money back. I don't know, you know.
The money that you have been giving them, has that been decreasing
I don't
what
know.
you owe on the home?
I thought so. What seems plausible to me. And, you know, at the time, every month that the payment was coming out, it looked like it. because the
Right.
last payment that came out was in September of 2021, which made the balance like 135 to 137 something. And as far as I knew, that meant there was like 13 more years on the loan, or maybe 15 at the time, roughly that, but not 30.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to say is that today I did go to yet another lawyer. This one was a bankruptcy lawyer. I've never filed bankruptcy in my entire life. I don't know how it works, but my current lawyer said bankruptcy wouldn't even stop the sheriff's sale because my name isn't on the loan. The bankruptcy lawyer was like, that's not how it works. It will absolutely stop the sheriff's sale. So I sort of have like maybe a safety, I hate to call it a safety net, but maybe a safety
Because
net.
you have the deed.
Right.
Because I
There's a deed in
have
your
the
name.
deed, I can file bankruptcy.
Right.
But do I want to file bankruptcy? Like I'm everything that I have, everything that I've worked for is just gone. So, and that doesn't mean I don't have to pay anything. I still have to pay it. So it just sort of restructures things. So that, like I said, I visited with him today. He gave me some things to think about. I'm going to do some more research on that and find out, like, I'll look at that. But in my heart, like, all I ever wanted was US Bank to just let me pay the freaking payment. Just let me pay
Right.
it. Accept my money, take my money. And they didn't want to. So if I could somehow get them to just go back, let's start over and give me that online access back and let me they don't even have to put my name on the loan. I don't know what the ultimate thing is that they're the bank. They can do whatever they want. I don't know what kind of law there is, but if they wanted to pay the loan off, if they wanted to put it into like some other kind of form so that I could have an auto pay drafted every month, they could set all of that up and everything be fine. But they never
Yeah.
wanted to work with me.
So when you talk to them now, or have you, I guess, lately?
I have not lately because of it being with the court.
Right. Have they
But
said like, here's what we need in order to bring you this current and
yeah,
put you on loan, or what?
I just got the most recent thing. $65,410.56 is the reinstatement. So what I'm assuming that is past due payments that haven't been made through the forbearance,
Right.
the escrow that they claim that they paid, which I am contesting because nobody will show me, I paid well more than, half of that. And who else knows? I don't know because if I calculate 2 years of payments at $1,000 a month, that is nowhere near 65,000.
Right. Well, I'm sure they're adding late fees.
Right. But I still say it would have never been late had they not deleted my online account, deleted my auto pay, and stopped accepting payments.
Yeah, but that's not how banks work.
Right. Well,
They're going to screw you for as much money as they possibly can. So I think, have you ever bought a home yourself ever?
no. When I was married, we had a home together, but it was all in his name. The deed only was in his name. The mortgage, everything was only in his name.
Yeah.
So, and
I
I
was thinking
also,
maybe you could just get an FHA loan yourself, like a 15-year loan, do a first-time home buyer for
he's
like,
gone.
you know,
Um,
160,000.
well, and
Well,
I don't know what the payoff is because, like I
it
said,
would be
there's
the 65, right?
no, that's the past due. So it would be that plus the current balance, which was like 137, plus the interest for the remainder or for the entirety of the loan, which again, I don't understand how they can ask for interest in of a loan of interest that's already been paid, essentially.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know if I'm
No,
just not understanding it correctly, but nothing maths out right. So it almost seems like they want the interest on the entirety of the loan, not just the past due or the remainder or whatever.
right.
They did tell me, so I did get a number from my current lawyer,
Hmm.
just a sort of a window. They were like, maybe between 205 and 215,000 will stop the sale.
Mhm.
That's the number that I was told.
That's even more than you owed in the first place.
Right. The original loan that mom and dad got back in 2010 was for 180, 175, 180.
Right.
So, and it's like I said, been paid on for, what are we in, 24? It's been paid on for 10, 12 years, 13 years.
Well, until 2021, right?
2021. Right. All right.
So 3 years it hasn't been paid.
Right. So I've got a copy of it. Oh, 170. Just, I'm looking at it. 170 was the original amount mom and dad financed in 2010.
Okay.
So
So they're trying to foreclose on you now, is what they're doing.
they've already done it. It's already
Okay.
case closed.
Yeah, so you should be able to get a government-backed loan, like a FHA loan, on that house.
After the 14th to get out or pay the past due.
I don't know. They won't even specify that, but not to get out. The sale or the auction is scheduled for that day. So I guess maybe 30 days after that, if someone else buys it or something. But I really don't know. I don't know how those work. I've never been foreclosed on. I've never been any of that.
Have you talked to any other banks?
Yes, and I don't qualify unless I have a cosigner.
No,
I'm
okay.
just like, I have a credit score of like 590, 600, something like that.
Yeah.
And not enough, provable income because I am self-employed. I work from home. Like I said, I took off a couple of years to care for mom. So, I'm slowly starting to like 2020 was a rough year. And then because everything was closed down for everybody. And then
Yeah.
2021, 2022, 2023, my income is sort of like doubled every year.
Yeah, I mean, I at this point I'd do like a GoFundMe and then buy the house back at auction for cheaper.
Well, no, that's the thing. The auction's supposed to start at 244.
Mm,
So like my 205 to 215 number that they gave me is sort of like I don't even know. It's so confusing and it's like, can you just give me an actual number?
yeah, usually the auctions that, especially if it's foreclosed, it's just the amount that is owed on the loan still.
And I also talked to a real estate lawyer who to ask him about something else when we got to talking about this, and he said most of those auctions, bank-owned auctions, the bank bids on. So
Interesting.
I could go start bidding on it, and he said in 90+% of the times of the ones that he's dealt with, the bank's always there bidding.
Well, that doesn't seem fair now, does it?
No, he was like, I don't even know how it's legal, but here
That
we are.
shouldn't be legal.
It shouldn't.
They probably have some proxy bidder so that they can get around
Right.
it.
It's like a shell corp or something where
Right.
they can, oh, this is where it's not us.
Banks annoy the crap out of me with all their fees and everything else. And, the other thing that's crazy is they don't actually own any money. It's all your money.
Right, right.
So
They
when
profit.
you put money into your checking account, they can now go loan that out 100 times.
Right, right.
But I can't do that. And then charge you interest on money that isn't even theirs.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
late fees on stuff
Right.
that isn't even theirs, that they're borrowing
Yeah.
from you.
Right. So have you looked at setting up like a GoFundMe for this at all?
Yeah, I've got one. I've had one for a
Okay.
little while. Like I put a big number on it. Like originally I put like I don't know, 130 was what I thought I owed.
Right.
And then now I'm like at 205 or something. So I just moved it to that. And I think so far I've made about 1,800 or something. And I'm very
Yeah.
thankful for that. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
it's a far stretch yet still to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Like I was hoping that maybe, if everybody donated, I know, I get it, or like we're all broke, I get it. But like if everybody donated $1 and then we found 200,000 people, that would do it. If everybody donated 50 cents and we found 400, and then I'm also in the TikTok Creator Fund. So
Hmm.
any likes over or any views over 1,000 on any of my videos, I get nominal. Like I've
Right.
had a couple videos go semi-viral in like the 50, 60,000 range. And I've made maybe a total of like $30 the entire
Right. It's
time I've
like
been on there.
0.0002 cents or
Yeah.
something. Right.
7 months, I made $30. Like,
Right.
so, and then I joined the TikTok shop. So, I'm hawking shit on TikTok. I mean, I'm trying
Yeah.
every little like extra thing. I work from home and my daughter is homeschooled. So I'm flexible in that sort of avenue. Um,
Hmm.
but I just don't have capital, right? And I don't have credit or in like of the trifecta, I
Hmm.
have none. I have
Right.
I have equity, but I don't even really have that. Like, what's that?
Where about in Ohio are you?
Kind of out in the middle of what I call the Bermuda Triangle between Dayton, Cincinnati, and Columbus. So like if you
Gotcha.
drew a triangle on all three of those, Southwest Ohio, and put your finger right in the middle, you'd probably even be right on top of me.
Yeah, I know. I know some mortgage guys. I can ask them some questions.
Okay. I mean, this bankruptcy thing kind of sounded like, as much as I don't want to
Yeah.
have a bankruptcy.
Yeah. I mean, if your credit was really good, then I'd say it
Right.
wouldn't
Like
be
at this point, I'm
long.
like, ruin my
But
already bad credit. Oh, so sad,
right.
but
And that could protect you, right? It's like if you chat, I think if you file, I think it's 7 or 13, like you can save your assets.
yeah, 13. Yeah. It's the 13th
13.
one to do
Yeah.
the assets, which I don't have a
Yeah. Cause
lot.
I did that a long time ago
Okay. Okay.
for medical bills because I landed in the hospital and
Okay.
a $75,000 bill later
Oh,
that I
see, I'm
couldn't
telling you,
pay.
it's
So,
ridiculous.
um, and yeah, it's, what, 11 years or 10 years that it stays on
Hmm.
your record.
Yeah, something
And
like
then
that.
after that, it's not that big a deal. And
Okay.
even, but like, again, it's just something to help you, right? Save your
Right.
house so you can actually
Right.
keep it.
And like I said a little bit ago, I'll do what it takes. So if that's what it takes, but here was
Right.
the question I had to these guys, this bankruptcy lawyer. I was like, so I guess the restructure is like a 5-year deal, right? So you pay whatever,
Hmm.
however they structure, you pay the current mortgage plus the arrears plus whatever. At the end of 5 years, I should be caught up. It should take care of
Right.
that past due. And then I get to that end. I'm like, well, what's to say they're not going to start refusing my payments again?
That would
Right.
happen
No, yeah. If I have to get
through
another
your
loan, it
mortgages.
absolutely will not be through US Bank.
No.
Um, and the property being rural, does fall in the area that I could get a USDA loan on it if I have the, right credit, which is about the same credit for an FHA, I think, from what I've looked into. But the USDA ones are zero money down. So,
Right. And a lower interest rate.
right, right.
But were you looking at any other grants for like the farm for like, is it a
Yes,
working farm?
I am looking into that. I was also looking into making the property or having a business that it utilizes the property as a nonprofit. But that's a whole bunch of hoops and red tape and tax stuff to jump through to become a nonprofit. Um,
Right.
and um, but yeah, there's other grants and things that I can. Most of those are more operating type
Right.
grants. Um, and I'm not your typical farm in the sense that I'm not out crop share, I don't have enough land to do corn and soybeans and whatever. But that said, I do have a pretty decent sized garden, and I do have an account through USDA and through the state of Ohio to do, like, I've set up they have a sort of you like produce produce and vegetables and things like that from the garden that you can, the county or the state or whoever buys them and then resells them to like food pantries and things like that so that they can give out. Like, I don't know how the like back end of that works, but essentially it's helping other people who need fed.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do like tomatoes and green beans and just keep trying different things like that. So I was looking into getting some of those grants for operational stuff. But,
Yeah.
fighting this whole like, am I gonna be here type situation, it's been a struggle.
Yeah. Have you
Oh, he's
reached out
back.
to any like your local senator or house reps or anything
Yeah.
either?
I've reached out to them and they just sort of shrug their shoulders at me. It's like, oh, we're so sorry. That's such a sad story. Good luck.
All right. Have a nice day.
Yeah. And like Mike DeWine is my neighbor. He's right down the road from me. He's our state governor.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know if I don't know if he got voted out. He got voted off the island yet or not, but he was like, I'm like, come on, you're like 3 miles down the road from me. And I never talked to him directly. It was, you got to go through their online form.
Right.
Look, I've sent letters but this was back before the foreclosure was a situation. It was when I was trying to get them to talk to me and give me the assumption. I sent letters to the CFPB, the FDIC, the FTC, when they deleted my online account, I don't know, the FBI, the CIA, all my
Mm-hmm.
governors, all my senators, the BBB. I filed everything everywhere that I could possibly think of. And most of that stuff, they just shrugged me off. Oh, that's terrible. Good luck. We don't handle that. It's
Yeah.
been the biggest shuffle.
I had a friend that had a similar situation through Bank of America that did something just as shady,
Yeah.
where he was making payments, and they were like auto payments, but they were for $1 less than the actual payment, but they never told him that.
Oh my God.
And he'd been paying for years,
Right.
and all of a sudden, I don't know if some like new person took over the account or something, and they're like, "We're gonna foreclose on your house because you haven't made the payment for like the last 3 years."
Oh
And
my
he's like,
God.
"Yeah, I have." They're
Yeah.
like, "Well, you haven't made the full payment." And he's like,
Wow.
You guys set up the auto pay, so that's on you, not me."
Right. How did
But
that situation
it
get
took him like
resolved?
2 years and court after court after court case, and he finally won.
Wow.
So
Wow.
he actually got his house free and clear, plus a bunch of other money for it because
See,
they were in the wrong.
yeah, well, that's what I thought, like to me that these guys are in the wrong too. And when I hired this current lawyer that I have, I really truly thought that they were the champions, like they were not cheap, but I thought I
Right.
was going to get some sort of, they talked about pain and suffering and all this kind of stuff. Like we could sue them. They broke the Garn St. Germain Act. Like they did all this shady stuff that is the reason that we are where we are. It would not
Right.
be in default or foreclosure or anything had they not deleted my account and stopped taking the payments. So I thought that really truly would get cleared up. And I really truly don't know why my lawyer, after, paying them all the money that I paid, and so now kind of my lawyer is like, well, we did our job. So
Well, you didn't, but okay.
sorry, good luck. Go
Right.
go refinance the house. You should have had more money.
Yeah. Well, everybody go out to your GoFundMe. You can link it in
Okay.
live, and then if you want, you can send that to us too, and I'll put it on our
Okay.
podcast.
Okay.
So what I usually do with our podcast is I'll put our logo on like the left side, and then I can put something for you on the right side so people
All
can
right.
see it.
Cool. And then like, I don't know
Make
how
it-
those audio ones work, but like I know you can probably do descriptions and stuff, right? Text descriptions.
Yeah, I'll throw it on YouTube and everything else, so
Cool.
people can watch it.
All right, Raven, thank you so much. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Yeah,
finally you're
hear you.
back and you're loud and you're connected and
Yeah, I went through quite the ordeal, lost internet completely. That's
oh
awesome.
my gosh. Yeah.
So I will go ahead, Jared and I will go ahead and we're going to promote the hell out of this too on
Okay.
TikTok and
Okay.
everywhere that we can. I don't know if
And-
you're familiar with our shorts or some of the promos that we've made to promote episodes. Kind of like the one I sent you
watched a
about
little bit
healthcare.
of your stuff, but that's been it.
Okay. So, but you can expect to see some of that out and we'll tag you every time when we send something out. And we'll try to get as many eyes on this as we can. And what do you think, Jared? I'm thinking I'm going to call a U.S. bank. And if you could send me that email from the executive assistant.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll
Yep.
go ahead and I'll start knocking on some doors. I don't know how far I'll get, Raven, but
Right.
I'll go ahead and reach out to any contacts that I have and try to see if we can get some information, or at
Right.
least maybe they can change their attitude or work with you here. It sounds
Yeah.
like they just haven't been working with you. And I'm not
No.
sure if that's through misunderstanding, but it seems like there's been enough time to get you on the mortgage. There's been enough time, and it sounds like
Mhm.
they have more to gain and benefit from you not being on the mortgage
Mhm.
loan by pulling this, deal they're on now. So
Right.
if they can get you into foreclosure, get you out of that home, take that home from you and sell it, that's a big profit for them, is what it sounds like. So US
Right.
Bank, don't come trying to sue me because I'm just telling it how it is. That's what it looks like. And we're going to find out if that's so.
Right. And if I'm wrong, all I've ever said is prove me wrong. Right.
Right.
But
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we appreciate it. Sorry I lost you
Yeah.
on the live. Looks
That's
like
okay.
you did pretty good there.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on Common X Podcast with
Thank
Ian and
you.
Jared, episode
Okay.
13.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, we'll follow up.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
All right,
Bye.
later. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to the podcast, Common X with Jared and Ian. We really appreciate you guys and would love your support. So make sure you click that subscribe or like button or follow us on all our social media platforms and on YouTube and Spotify, because that would really help us out. And that helps us bring more episodes to you guys every week, and hopefully from content that you guys want to see. So reach out, TikTok, YouTube, leave comments. If there's anything that you guys want to see or any guests that you want us to try and get on, let us know. We do have a good lineup coming. So thank you again. We love you guys. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next time. And remember, common sense isn't that common. So that's why we're bringing common sense back from Generation X.